My dear students, I want to welcome you to the class of Biochemistry 408 titled Blood Biochemistry and Immunochemistry. This course will be taken by two lecturers, Professor Iyawe and Dr. Evolime. And because it will be taken by two individuals, the course content is splitted into two parts. Professor Iyawe's contents will be blood composition and metabolic profile, metabolism and regulation of heme, chemistry of oxygen and carbon dioxide transport, antigenic determinants of blood groups, biochemical basis for the functions of the leukocytes and lymphocytes. Dr. Evolime will come in after that to treat chemistry of antigens, chemistry of antibodies, chemistry of immune response, blood clotting mechanisms or blood clotting cascade mechanisms, and biochemical composition and functions of the plasma. Now, looking at the course details for blood biochemistry and immunochemistry, it is a 3-unit course, and the course will be taken by two lecturers, Professor Iyawe and Dr. Evolime. The course lectures will come in 10 modules. Course status is core, which is compulsory. Course assessments will take 30 marks, and examination will take 70 marks. Now let's look at the continuous assessment breakdown. Assessment shall consist of tests, assignments, and any other mode of assessing you, which will take 20 marks. Then the class attendance will take 10 marks. There's a way I've factored out to mark out your class attendance. Now, the first topic, or topic 1, which is blood composition and metabolic profile of blood. Composition and metabolic profile of blood. Better still, we can say blood composition and its metabolic profile. What does blood contain? What is blood made up of? And what is blood? Now, simply put, blood is a bright red liquid tissue that contains hemoglobin. Or you can simply say blood is a liquid tissue containing hemoglobin. It consists of 3 major components. This is plasma, red cells, and white cells. The composition of the plasma is 55%, red cell 45%, and white cells and platelets 1%. Now, the liquid portion of the blood is what we call the blood plasma. It is composed of 92% water and 8% of other components, namely glucose, hormones, proteins, fats, mineral iron, amino acids, clotting factors, immunoglobulins, and vitamins. So you can see that even though it is 8%, it is very weighty in terms of composition. Now, still looking at the composition of blood, we said, or I said earlier on, that the blood contains red blood cells or erythrocytes. What are the characteristics of these erythrocytes? They function to deliver blood to different tissues of the body. They contain hemoglobin, which has iron. The hemoglobin renders the blood red in color. Red blood cells have life cycle of 100 to 120 days. They are biconcave and flexible, and they lack nucleus and organelles. Now, this picture or figure depicts the red blood cells or erythrocytes. This is how the shape is or looks like. It is biconcave and is very flexible. The other component is the white blood cells or the leukocytes. The other word for leukocytes is white blood cells, and the other word for white blood cells is leukocytes. They are actually the cells of the immune system and derived from the hematopoietic stem cells. Leukocytes are classified as granulocytes and agranulocytes. Now, still on the leukocytes. First of all, let's look at the granulocytes. What are they? They are the neutrophils, basophils, and eosinophils. These are the subgroup of granulocytes. Lymphocytes, monocytes, and macrophages. The count of leukocytes in blood is an important factor for normal functioning of the body. So, there is a threshold for each of them. Above or below indicates a problem state. Now, platelets, or another word for it is thrombocytes. They are derived from precursor cells known as megakaryocytes and are devoid of nucleus. They have a lifespan of 5 to 9 days, and their important function is blood coagulation or blood clotting. Now, low thrombocytes or platelets can cause excessive bleeding, but this effect can be reversed if the count is more than normal. They are also source of natural growth factors. Now, where and how are they produced? Bone marrow produces red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets from where they enter the bloodstream. So, blood cells are produced from bone marrow. Now, what are the functions of blood? There are three basic functions of the blood. They include transport, protection, and regulation. Transport, protection, and regulation. Now, let's look at these in turn. Now, let's look at the transport functions. As I mentioned earlier, gases, oxygen, and carbon dioxide are transported between the lungs and the rest of the body, nutrients from the digestive tract, and storage sites to the rest of the body. Waste products can be detoxified or removed by the liver and kidneys. Hormones, I mentioned earlier, from the production glands to their target cells. Heat to the skin so as to help regulate body temperature. Protection. White blood cells destroy living. White blood cell destroys invading organisms and cancer cells. There are also antibodies and other proteins destroy pathogenic substances. Platelet factors initiate blood clotting and help minimize blood loss. Now, regulation. The blood helps regulate the pH by interacting with acid and bases. It also helps to maintain the water balance by transferring water to and through other tissues. We look at the metabolic profile of blood. What does it entail? We have seen that blood is a liquid tissue, and being a liquid tissue, it means that it is not static, it is dynamic. In that sense, the metabolic profile means that when you take a blood sample at any given time, because of the metabolism that is going on within the blood, there is at least certain metabolites that you will find in the blood. Analysis of these metabolites can identify any normal or abnormal condition. And the metabolic profile of blood may include the following. Number one in the metabolic profile of blood is glucose. It is a measure of the glucose, of the sugar level in your blood or in the blood. Specific levels can indicate either diabetes or hypoglycemia. When it is above certain threshold, diabetes can be indicated. And if it is below that threshold, now hypoglycemia can result. Both of them are disease condition. The second profile or second metabolic profile is waste products. Now, among these is uric acid. Uric acid is normally found in the blood and is a normal byproduct excreted in urine. Abnormal levels can indicate gout, arthritis, and kidney problems. Still on waste products, the blood also contains blood urea nitrogen. Blood urea nitrogen is a waste product produced in the liver and excreted by the kidneys. Blood urea nitrogen levels and blood urea stroke creatine ratio assesses kidney function. Creatinine. Creatinine is a waste product primarily from muscle breakdown. The level of creatinine in the blood can indicate kidney filtration rates. The next one is the glomerular filtration rate. Glomerular filtration rate, GFR, is a measure of how well the kidneys are filtering the blood. Remember, the kidney function is to filter waste products. And of course, there are values attached to this. Once the is above or below threshold, it indicates serious problem that requires attention. The third is electrolytes. Blood electrolytes are substances which naturally carry positive or negative charge in blood. They regulate certain processes, and their presence or absence can indicate a condition state. Down to this extent, the three main electrolytes in blood are 1. Sodium is used to regulate the kidneys. Body fluid and electrolytes balance are important measures of kidney function. The second is potassium. This is also controlled by the kidney, that is, potassium ion is controlled by the kidneys. It is critical for proper functioning of the nerves and muscle, especially that of the heart. So, it is necessary to maintain a balance of these electrolytes. The third is the chloride. Chloride is another electrolyte that is involved in maintaining the proper balance of body fluid and the body acid-base balance. Number 4, minerals. Under this, we talk about calcium. Calcium is controlled in the body by the glands and the kidneys. It is an important mineral required for proper blood clotting, nerve function, and cell activity. Still on mineral, another one apart from calcium is phosphorus, regulated by the kidneys, and high levels may indicate liver disease. The fifth is blood fats. Blood fats are triglycerides and cholesterol. And when we mention cholesterol, we can be further talking about LDH and LDL and high density lipoprotein, HDL. Now let's start with triacylglyceride or triglycerides. If elevated, it is associated with heart problems. Now, alcohol or sugar are converted to triglycerides and stored in the cells throughout the body. So, when we have excess calories, they are converted to triglyceride. We should therefore avoid excessive calories. Still on blood fats, we talk about total cholesterol. Of course, elevation of this can also indicate heart problems. The sixth item is proteins. Proteins in blood are albumin and globulin. For albumin is a type of protein in the blood used for binding molecules, while albumin is important for fighting diseases. Now, total protein in blood is the amount of protein that evaluates kidney functions, and the albumin and globulin ratios are generally indices of overall health and nutrition. Still on metabolic profile of blood, bilirubin found in blood are meant to be removed by the liver. Levels are used to evaluate liver and gallbladder function. The next item is enzyme. There are so many enzymes in blood that we have to account for in the causation of negative health impacts. The first is alkaline phosphatase, found mainly in bones and the liver. Specific levels can indicate liver or bone disease. We have the glutamyl or gamma glutamyl transferase, GGT. It is an enzyme found in muscle, liver, and heart, and facilitates chemical activities within the cells. Damages from alcohol, medications, vitamins, and a number of diseases could be reflected in high values. Another important enzyme is lactate dehydrogenase. It is found in all the body cells. Anything that can damage cells will lead to a rise in its amount in the blood. We have aspartate transferase or aspartate aminotransferase, also a liver and muscle enzyme. Specific levels may indicate problems with the liver, gallbladder, or pancreas. But for this enzyme, a further analysis or a confirmatory analysis is required. Complete blood counts of blood. Let's start with white blood count, WBC. The total number of white blood cells per volume of whole blood. That is the definition of white blood count. Abnormal levels may indicate infection, certain type of leukemia, or bone marrow diseases. Now, red blood count. Again, is a total of red blood cells per volume of the whole blood. Hemoglobin, which is the amount of oxygen-carrying protein contained within the red blood cells. Abnormal levels may indicate anemia, red blood cell breakdown, or vitamin deficiency. Now, hematocrits. It is the percentage of blood volume occupied by red blood cells. Levels evaluate anemia, bone marrow failure, and certain cancers. Disorders and diseases of the blood. These disorders impairs some of the blood functions. Some of the conditions of interest to us are sickle cell disease, anemia, and leukemia. Sickle cell disease is a genetic disorder whereby red blood cells periodically lose their shape and appear sickle. The deformed red blood cells deposit in tissues, causing pain and organ damage. The disease is inherited as an autosomal recessive trait of hemoglobin S. Now, it is a disorder of one amino acid residue which is different from the normal adult hemoglobin A. The difference arose as a result of a mutation which caused the substitution of valine for glutamic acid at the cis position of the beta globin chain of the hemoglobin molecule. This is the biochemical basis for the disorder. Individuals who are homozygous for the gene which produces the abnormal hemoglobin suffer from sickle cell anemia. Those who receive the abnormal gene from one parent but each abnormal allele from the other parent have the sickle cell trait and are usually not symptomatic. Now let's look at anemia. It's a condition in which the number of red blood cells or hemoglobin concentration within them is lower than normal. As a result, there will be a decrease in the capacity of the blood to carry oxygen to other body tissues. Anemia has consequences, and that is fatigue, weakness, dizziness, and shortness of breath, among others. Now, what are the causes of anemia? One, it could be inherited or could be nutritional. Inherited anemia include sickle cell anemia, which changes red blood cell shape into stiff and sticky sickle cell that block blood flow. A very common cause of anemia, or a very common form of anemia, is nutritional anemia, resulting from iron deficiency. These occur in individuals who do not have enough iron to make hemoglobin. Other types of anemia occur. These are hemolytic anemia, where red blood cells break down or die faster than usual. Aplastic anemia, where stem cells or bone marrow do not make enough red blood cells. And autoimmune hemolytic anemia, where the immune system attacks its own red blood cells. Others include sideroblastic anemia, macrocytic anemia, and so on and so forth. We have macrocytic anemia and normocytic anemia. Dear students, this is the end of lecture 1. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, note your questions till we meet physically to attend to these questions. Meanwhile, thank you for your time and thanks for listening and watching.